Detective, would you knock on the door and let the bailiff know we're ready? Please be seated. The record will show the presence of the jury, the defendant, and all counsel. Mr. Martinez.
The state recalls Detective Esteban Flores to the stand.
Detective Flores, you are still under oath. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good name, sir?
Esteban Flores.
And, sir, we talked about a number of telephone calls that you may have had with the defendant. At one point on June 21st, 2008, did she leave you a telephone message?
Yes, she did.
And in it, as a return, or in the message, did she include the number for you to call her back on?
Yes.
Please take a look at Exhibit 389. And once you look at it, did you review it prior to coming to court this morning?
Yes, I did.
Is that message including her voice and the telephone number that she left for you?
Yes, it is.
Move for the admission of Exhibit 389.
No objection.
389 is admitted.
This is sent to my cell phone on June 21st, 2008, from Jodi Arias.
Are you still there? You have one saved message. First saved message.
Hi, Detective Flores. It's Jodi Arias calling in regards to Travis Alexander. It's Saturday. I'm not exactly sure what time, but maybe you're off. If so, I hope you're enjoying your day off. If not, if you could give me a call back. My phone number is 831-402-1901. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.
End of message. To delete this message, press 7. To save it in the archives, press 9. To hear more.
And the documents in Exhibit 366. The telephone number that is referenced there, is that the same one as the one referenced by Ms. Arias in her call?
Yes, it is.
I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, you were present when the photos of Miss Arias and Mr. Alexander were shown in court, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And those were recovered from the camera on the scene, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was a few weeks after the investigation began that those photographs were actually recovered, right?
That's correct.
It took a couple weeks for your forensics department to obtain those?
Yes.
Okay. Before they obtained those, had you had any other evidence that Miss Arias was at Mr. Alexander's home on June 4th?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So you spoke with numerous friends of his, right?
Yes.
Okay. You and your other investigators, people at the scene, that sort of thing. Numerous people at the scene. Friends of his, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the roommates. And none of them gave you any information, the idea that Miss Arias was coming to visit Mr. Alexander, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Sounds to me like it's a secret, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
No, thank you.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? See no hands, you may step down. You may call your next witness.
The state calls the custodian of records for Sprint.
What's your first and last name?
Jeff Strom, Jeffstrohm, as in Mary.
All right, raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Please walk right around and have a seat.
Your name, sir?
My name is Jeff Strom.
And who do you work for?
I work for Sprint Nextel Telecommunications.
And what kind of business is that, just briefly?
We're a cell phone company.
And I'm going to show you exhibit number 366. Does your company keep records that are made at or near the time that the telephone call is being made?
Yes.
And the information that's on these records, is it created from the information transmitted by the handsets as they're communicating through your network?
Yes, they are.
And these numbers or this information, is that kept in the normal course of business?
Yes.
And with regard to the item that you have in front of you, are those partial records for a telephone number?
Yes, they are.
And what's that telephone number?
The phone number is 831-402-1901.
And those are true and accurate copies of the originals that you have on file?
Yes.
I move for the admission of exhibit number 366.
No objection.
366 is admitted.
Just so that we can get familiar with how they look. Let's take a look at the second page. In the first column, when it says calling NBR, what are we talking about?
That's the calling number. That's the number that's initiating a particular phone call.
So for example, if we take the first one, the initiating number is an 801 number, right?
Yes.
And the number that they called is our target phone, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Why do we have there 11831-402-1901? What are we looking at there?
What that column represents is the called number, the number that's receiving a particular phone call. For this specific example, which has the 11 before the 10-digit target number ending in 1901, what that represents is a phone call that's routed to voicemail.
Okay, and then we have the dial digits. How is that different than what we looked at just now?
Those are the numbers actually input into the physical handset.
In other words, the person who's calling actually inputted those numbers into their handset?
Correct.
Okay. And then the MR number, what does that mean?
That's an acronym for mobile role, the role of the target number. The entries you see underneath there are going to be inbound, outgoing, or routed with respect to the target number ending in 1901. Inbound being that the target number is receiving a phone call, outbound being that the target number is initiating the phone call, and then routed phone calls.
All right, and the start date, what information is provided there?
That's the date and time as to when a phone call initially registers onto our network.
And when you say it registers onto the network, are we talking about the switch? Or?
Yes.
Okay. And then the end date and time, what about that?
When a phone call terminates from our network or switch.
And the duration, is that, what's the unit of measure there?
Seconds, it's the amount of time spent on the network in seconds.
And then REPOLL number, what is that?
That's the repull number. For the sake of these records, what it is a reference to a group of cell phone towers with respect to a certain area. There's a repull number for Kansas City. There's a repull number for Dallas. For bigger areas such as Los Angeles, there's multiple repull numbers. But again, it references some sort of geographic region.
And then it has first cell. What does that mean?
That number indicates the specific cell phone tower that the target number is using at the beginning of a phone call.
Well, how come we have zeros here? What does that mean?
It can be a couple different things. For text messages, it's not going to show any cell site information. Also, when phone calls are routed to voicemail, like the first example that we looked at on the screen, that's not going to show any cell site information.
When you say it's routed to voicemail, who has the actual system of the voicemail? Is it your company at a server somewhere, or is it the phone itself?
Sprint, the company Sprint. We have a server that provides voicemail, and the call records will show when an inbound phone call is routed to voicemail accordingly.
And then the last cell, what does that mean?
That indicates the specific cell phone tower that the target number is using at the end of the phone call.
Okay, I'm going to go down here and take a look at this entry, and it's June 4th, 2008 at 11:48 and 28 seconds. You see that one?
Yes.
In terms of the time, this time that we have here, does somebody walk around and set the clock for you, or is that set according to some other unit of measure of time? In other words, where do you get that?
Sure. The timestamp for phone calls is with respect to the switch that's fielding the phone call. So if I make or receive a phone call in the Phoenix area, it's going to represent Arizona time.
Okay. And in this case right here, for this line here, the calling number is what?
831-402-1901.
And so does that mean that the target number is the one that's making this call?
Yes.
And then the number that is being called is what?
951-536-2162.
And then if we take a look at exhibit number 362, do you see the number there, the mobile directory number?
Yes.
Are they the same numbers as the one you just read to me?
That is the same 10-digit phone number I just read, yes.
So
our target is calling this particular number, correct?
Correct.
And then it's listed twice. Explain to me why that's listed twice. I know that in the previous example, there was a 1. In this one, there isn't. So if you don't mind explaining to me what is going on there.
Sure. This is an easier example to explain. The 10-digit phone number ending in 2162 was entered into the handset and was the number that was called. So it was the number that appears in the dialed digits column and the number that appears in the called number column.
And this one doesn't have like 1 1s in front of it. What does that mean?
It means it had the 1 1s represent when an inbound phone call is forwarded to the target number's voicemail. So since it doesn't have the 1 1s, it has nothing to do with voicemail for
Right.
the target number.
And it's not an inbound call either. It's an outgoing call, correct?
Correct.
And if we look at the next column, that's exactly what it tells us, right?
Yes.
And the date and time of that is what?
June 4th, 2008, 23:48 military time, 11:48 standard time.
And the call ended at what time?
23:51 military time, 11:51 standard time.
And how many seconds was that?
169 seconds.
So if we look right under it, it says 168. Is that the same call or is that another call?
That is the same phone call.
How do you know that's the same phone call?
If you look at the times, they overlap. You see the outgoing aspect of the phone call starting at 23:48 and 28 seconds and ending at 23:51 and 17 seconds. The second aspect of the phone call begins at the same time and ends just a second earlier. Because of the overlapping times, that is the same phone call.
And directly underneath, we have another entry about the same time, but about 5 minutes apart. Is that a different phone call?
That is a different phone call, yes.
And that call lasted how many seconds?
961 seconds.
And then we can go back and trace it back, and it shows us the same sort of entry that we had before, correct?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
I have none, Your Honor.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? I see no hands. Thank you. You may step down. The state may call its next witness.
The state calls Leslie Jodi.
Can you spell your last name, please?
U-D-Y.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.